When you're 75 years old, the benefits are that we've got a lot of history. We've got a lot of stories and legacy. The drawbacks of it are people are retiring at all times. And the silver lining in the retirement is that you have an opportunity then to take what that person's given the business and what they've left behind and add to it. As the business has grown, the type of people that we've needed to run it have changed. It was a very technically, inwardly focused company 20, 30 years ago. The complexion of our leadership team has changed tremendously. 50% of the people that sit in those chairs are female. You just have to keep your eyes and ears wide open and don't be afraid to take a leap.
My father's Sylvine Bracalente, and my mother is Stella. Her maiden name was Gregorzevich, and they got married in February of 1941. And they lived on my father's parents' farm in Milford Square. A house up the street went up for sale, and she said to my dad, "We're buying that house." And he said, "We are? I can't afford it." And she says, "Well, you've got to think of something because we got to get out of this apartment. We have 2 children now and we have no room." He worked in a pants factory. He was a bundle boy and gave all the ladies work and carried their work, and if their machines broke down, he helped them with their sewing machines.
My grandfather tried to get other partners to join him and friends, and nobody wanted him. Remember, these were all Depression kids, so nobody wanted to take the risk. We went to an auction, bought a couple of used machines.
He started in the basement, 1950, in the garage behind the house. We had Brown and Sharp. Those were the name of the machines that he started with.
My father was doing his thing. She was working at David Crystal. It was a dress shop. And she worked down there for a number of years. My dad bought a place over on Station Road in Quakertown. That's where we lived until Tommy got married and I got married. When I worked for my father, he would have a deer head and a bear and maybe a moose on the office, on the walls. So it's Christmas time and I decorated them. Well, he came in and he was furious. "You can't do that to my animals." These were his animals and he really loved them. I often said, "How come you're going hunting?" "Well, because I love these animals and I want them with me." And I thought, well, don't you think you ought to have a zoo then? Tommy always worked there. He was always there.
Well, first of all, you have to have an understanding wife. Without that home support, from family and, and somebody taking care of the day-to-day, it doesn't work.
He used to work summers, and he was always working. When he wasn't going to school, he was over there. It was just the way it was in those days, so he learned from the bottom up. When we were 19, we got engaged and we got married in January. We had both our children 2 years apart, Diane and Ron.
I played field hockey. Title IX just got passed. I graduated in '81. So I was just on the forefront of being a recipient of what all those other women before me did, which allowed women to get to play a sport in college. In 1987, we had a tournament in Spain. We won, qualified us for the Olympic team. The Olympics were in September of '88. My parents, they've been pretty much, everywhere along the way supporting me. I mostly remember Sylvine to be very generous. There was an unspoken expectation that of course you're going to do well. Of course you're going to enjoy life and have a lot of fun, have a lot of good friends. That's what he exemplified. He'd always have a new gadget of some kind. And it kind of trickled down to my father because they would be working on things or they'd come up with these ideas.
We went over to England and bought some new equipment called Wickmans. And those were multi-spindles versus a single spindle machine and, develop into that.
I worked on the multi-spindle screw machines as a trainee. That's where it started. Sil was at the helm still, but Tom was the guy in charge of the multi-spindles. I had the pleasure of helping to develop that. My office was right on the other side there. I remember Tom one time telling me, we got to make a part, and he pulled out a cocktail napkin, had a hand-drawn part on it, and he said, we got to make this part. Watching Buddy do his thing at making a carbide tool. This is carbide on the top, steel on the bottom, and it'll cut all of that away to the exact dimensions that you drew on the print. It's just fantastic. That's something that we didn't have when I started here.
The CNCs that came along later on, which basically we're into now through Ronnie and some of our other good people.
He had a good head on his shoulder, and we both spoke the same language. It was pretty easy on that level.
I never really learned how to operate a computer, but he was able to pick it right up and improve it. It was a big, giant step for this company when he arrived, a big, giant step.
I'll never forget, he told my husband, the whole business is going to go computerized. And my husband told his son, it's not my time, it's your time. And that's when Ronnie took over the business.
Last time we were selling houses the last couple of years. Not necessarily mine.
They're fabulous, and they're all good kids.
My dad's involvement changed in the business, and I realized that, man, I can't run this business by myself. I need somebody like-minded. At the time, it was Earl's Garage in Trimbarsville, and Nelson Bolton, which was was he the founder of Artistic? Looks across the pump at me and says, "What's troubling you, son?" I said, I need a right-hand person to help me run this business. I can't be everywhere, and I can't run it myself. So he's like, I got just the guy for you. He jots the number down. He goes, call him. He goes, I'll bet he's at home. So I got back to the shop, called Ken. Ken answers the phone, and that was great because he brought me some vision on how to formalize things, how to systematize things, and really, got us out of the mom and pop mentality, like almost overnight.
When this opportunity came, I saw the positives about what it meant to be working for an organization that was run by a family and how it was run. So that was an easy decision for me to make.
You were a mentor to me, and I think you did come at a time when Ron, we all needed you, right? Because Ron couldn't be that technical person and that disciplinarian and that people manage, the whole, as we were growing, you took over that whole role of helping us develop a handbook, which we didn't have. I had a social science degree and I kind of just learned as I went.
There's a saying about getting something done, and the saying is, give it to the busiest person you know. And, not only have you been, a pillar in our company, but you're a pillar in your family. I just went to Brenda, I said, look, I know you're a temporary, but I really think you would be great at this job, and, are you willing to come on board full time?
Your contribution to culture, though, your office is right across from mine for many years. And I would see a steady line of employees at your office. And you helped them, you did everything from being den mother, grandmother, wife, HR supporter, healthcare benefits provider. You counseled our employees. It was amazing.
The rest is history. Yeah, it was a $6 an hour temp.
I really feel strongly about families like yours, and the people who support you are the drivers of the economy, the people who really put boots on the ground and get people jobs and pay them fair wages. You bring a lot of people along with you, like you have with so many of your employees. So it's really absolutely been my privilege to be part of it.
Mario, it's been great. You gave me confidence, but you also challenged me in the business. It gave me a benchmark. And then I took your words and I turned around and used them with my team.
I was manufacturing horseshoes on a CNC machine in my barn. My wife kicked me out of the shop and said, go to this job fair. And Bracalente had a table there. I threw a resume down. I said, I'm going to go back to work, back to the farm. Back to the farm, Ron calls me and says, what the hell's a guy like you walking around on the street? Come have lunch with me. I'll never forget, you hired me and you said, I don't have a job for you, but I think you're smart enough to figure it out. But the opportunity was really great. He convinced me to go into sales. The two of us went to China. Our area had experienced large corporations moving manufacturing to China and getting rid of jobs.
I was really struggling with made in USA. You know, we got an American flag here in this building. So the rationale, real quick, on how we end up doing it, we realized that our customers are doing it. So these landmines were going off all around us. We understood that this was going to kill our business. We're burning money faster than you can count. I'm hitting my personal bank account faster than you can count. And I'm like, something's got to give here. I came home to this house. I told my wife, I said, we might have to sell our house. I just remember, I said, you know, for better or worse. I said, you know, we're going through a little time here. Just bear with me.
2008. Yeah, things weren't going well at the shop. And he just was like, you know, okay, cut up your credit cards, be prepared to get a job, go back to teaching. We might have to sell the house. Stop shopping. He was traveling a lot to China. I just kept the same pace, running from one football game to a soccer game, halftime, you know, running around. I also had tons of friends that helped. So, I mean, I was clearly it was the right thing to do. I never doubted him for a minute.
It was a big risk because there was a couple years that we didn't know what was going to happen. And we took a big chance because we believed in our son, and it wasn't easy during those tough times.
And our investment in China at that point was about $250,000. You were instrumental in getting all of that started, and you know that led to the factory and you know hiring Jack. It was one of the best moves that the whole business made, because I can't sit here and take credit for it. It was a collective effort. The things that the two of you said, and the passion and the compassion that you had for not only it really starts with the family. You know, the two of you had a chance to work with all of us. And, you know, Sil, I never saw Sil work. But his way of working was just kind of strolling around and talking to people. And you saw my dad do what my dad did and me what I did.
Well, you and all the rest of the executive team and the employees, you just don't see this that often, to adapt a very traditional business to a modern financial model and economic model, that you can succeed like you do and not lose your mind doing it. Still take care of the people and maintain all that.
God bless Sil. That's all I got to say. For having the vision, the stubbornness and vision to do what he did.
He was an unbelievable guy. You know, everybody loved him. He'd be the type of guy that he'd give you the shirt off his back. And when he passed, there was more people that came up that said, you know, he paid for my child's education. He used to put little dollar bills in the Easter eggs. When he just did so many little things like that mattered so much to the community.
He was larger than life to me. He didn't do things to get paid back. He helped. I'm so proud of all of them. I'm proud of all of them because it really was a dream. My father was just so proud of all of them to do what they did.
There's not very many companies that go through the third generation, and I think Ron knows that, and he's worked really hard to make sure that that's going to be a legacy. You know, I think the foundation that we started for Celine, and he just had this idea. He wanted to make something memorable and also, I think, impactful to young people who are maybe not sure college is their right path, but to let them know that, hey, this is a real legitimate line of work and a career. So I think that's been phenomenally successful. And of course, you know, there's so much pride. You know, it's just amazing to see, and also to see the person he's grown into.
The biggest factor in seeing it get to 75 years is really just amazing. It's really what I consider tremendous. It's actually overwhelming, to tell you the truth. It's we're in 4 different countries now, and we were able to grow it.
My father-in-law starting in the legacy, and I'm proud of my son for keeping it going. My daughter also, she worked really hard after she got out of school and was very successful. I'm just proud of the whole family that we have, that everybody stuck together through ups and downs, and that legacy will always be there.
And it all boils down to, Ron and I speak about this all the time, is the core value. The family's here, the business is here, and our employees. Without them, we're nothing. Everything else comes after.
That's real stuff that goes on in family companies because you're signing for debt and you're taking on massive amounts of risk. But look at, the ability to do that and fundamentally change the way the business works without changing the core values of what you are in the community and to your people.
We still build cars. As long as you build cars, you're going to need parts. You still have what I call metal turning parts that are physical. Stainless steel, brass, aluminum, they're still functional mechanical parts that have to be made. As long as we can keep that in mind, you're going to need machine shops to make them. So I think there'll always be a need, always.
This location has always been where Bracalente started and still is. So the beauty of this land behind me is that this will be where we can continue to grow and develop. I love what I do, and I enjoy the people that I work with. You do have to manage the balance, family, and Nina has reminded me of that at times, but you have to trust people, and you just create an environment that people can thrive. This is a family business. I've started talking about the business with my family as soon as they were old enough to sort of understand it. Right now, my children have been raised that way. I hope my son starts talking to his son and my grandson the same way that I spoke to him about it. Nick wanted to be in the business as soon as he possibly could, and my daughter's still in school, so we'll see. And Nathan's threatening to join the company. We'll have to see how that all pans out. We want to maintain the integrity and the beauty of this town. Credit to the road that my grandfather and my dad laid before I even got here. I don't want to make anybody disappointed. I want them to feel proud, and which again keeps me focused on doing the right things.